that question kind of stunned me. It was hard for me because I never knew my father. So for me, you know, I grew up in a household with all women. My mom didn't know her father, and so my grandfather that raised us was my mom's stepdad, and so he was just the man that supplied financially. He was not emotionally tied to any of us. He just existed. Now he would get you to work at church, and that was it. That was all.
The bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Yeah.
And he would feed his dogs, and that was it. So he was not emotionally tied to any of us. So I don't have any, ties. And my uncles, they were in prison, and then like I have a boy cousin. So we didn't have that male role, that male figure in our life. So as far as my dad, no. So that question kind of was.
So I do have a question for you, if it's okay. So your mom never knew her father.
No.
She was never told who her father was.
She knew who her father was.
Okay. She just didn't want to.
My grandmother never. She just didn't have a relationship with him.
Okay.
Because my grandmother, she was the only child that my grandmother had with him, and then my grandmother met my grandfather, and then she had kids by him. They got married, and then that was just it. So he just assumed, the role of my mom's father, and then they just moved to Charlotte because they, it was in New York, of course, and then they moved to Charlotte, and then that was it.
And then the same thing for you. Were you ever told?
I was told who my father was.
You just didn't care to.
I think more so. I don't think we'll get more down to it.
Okay.
But I was just told. I think more so he was in and out.
Okay.
And my mom pretty much was like, "Listen," she was like, "I'll do this by myself
Right.
rather than to have you," because my mom was more of an independent person. Like she's like, "We're not doing this, so you just keep it moving." And she just refused to have him in and out. So that was more so. Yeah.
I have another question, but I think it's further down, like Tab said. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of hit on too. That question was, what would have been different if my father wasn't present in my life?
I think that was
I
something I
think
was going to
we
ask
kinda-
Tab. So that's the question.
Oh, I can actually answer that. So for me, what would have been different? I think for me, I wouldn't have. So I have three kids. My oldest daughters are from my first marriage, and then I'm married to. my husband, my Teddy Rock. So the first marriage was a practice marriage. Okay.
You was
Who's
like
practice?
it's a trial run.
Yeah, it was a try. Okay, so you got it. And so, yeah. Oh God, it's expired.
Return to sender. Return to
Baby,
sender.
return to sender. Express. Yes, expressing. And so, I really think that had he been present and he was consistent and I had that relationship, because I really love to see the girl-dad relationships. So I was hell-bent on having that relationship for my girls.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So I stuck around
agree.
longer
I agree.
for them to have that relationship with their father. You know what I'm saying? So I put up with more than I normally would have. You know what I'm saying? So I think had my father been consistent, now if he would have been a popcorn dad, probably not, because I would have known, what to, not deal with. But I think that had he been in my life and consistent, then I would have, known what to look for, because I believe that, that old saying, your father should be your first love. I wouldn't have stuck around. I think I would have been gone longer than, because my husband, well, the practice marriage,
The trial run.
yeah, the trial run. He actually filed for divorce, but I'm actually thankful that he did. I told him that. I'm really thankful, and I thanked him for that. But he filed for the divorce because I really stayed around because I wanted my kids to have that. But yeah, so that was, I put up with a lot more than I normally would have.
I honestly feel like, being that my dad was there and all of the issues that surrounded that, I put up with more than what I should. So, and I've said this before, that I honestly feel as though sometimes I wish he hadn't have been there. Because one, I know that my mom did the same thing. She stayed with him because of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew to the point, because I remember when I was in elementary, my mom had talked about leaving my dad. And I told her, I said, y'all divorced, I'm running away. I told her that. And as life progressed and everything was happening, I got to a point in high school, I told her, I said, if you don't leave him, I will run away.
Yeah. Right there where you said, a lot of kids go through that
Yeah.
because they feel like they don't know what's going on behind closed doors. They don't know what their mother is going through or their father is going through. But because of, like you said, if y'all divorced, I'm gonna run away.
Exactly.
So your mom's like, I gotta stay in this uncomfortable, unhealthy relationship.
And I apologized to her for that.
But you knew no better.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And but once I got to the point and I was able to like fully understand the things that was going on, and it's not like my mom bashed my dad or anything like that. It's just that I saw it, you know, and so it's like I said, I got to the point where it was like, I don't want you to stay with him for us. I want you to leave for you.
For you.
You know, because my mom was the type, like you say, my mom, she made it happen every single time.
Yeah.
And it was like, despite any and everything that was going on with her and my dad, because people always say, oh, y'all the perfect family.
They had
If
no idea.
you knew
And your mama was the
What?
one that was going
Listen.
10 times harder, and she made it look
she
good.
did, and I'm telling you, because it was like I said, my dad and his addiction. It was times that my mom would go on trips, and my dad was supposed to be there with us. He would get paid on that Friday.
That check was gone, baby.
We would not see my dad until that Monday when my mom got back from her trip.
The
She
check
was out
gone.
doing whatever. Exactly. My mom, she made all of that stuff happen. And so, and that's not to bash my dad to a sense.
Right.
That's what happened.
That's
what
true.
happened.
That's
You
the
know?
truth.
Yeah.
And so, and I remember that I was having a discussion with one of my friends in college, and I said that she didn't have her dad. She got livid. And I had to sit there and explain. I say, your experience is your experience.
Right.
Mine is mine. And you don't know, I'm telling you some things, but you don't know everything. And especially because I knew the emotional toll that it took on me
Right.
as well. Because like I said, I know that my longing for a healthy relationship and for me loving my dad, I do deal with a lot of stuff, and I'm saying it is still happening because I'm still getting to that point where I can cut it off and like this is it. But I deal with too much, and even not just with me, it's friendships.
Yeah,
absolutely.
In every
You
ship,
know,
as she said,
every
every ship,
ship.
every ship.
Exactly, and so it's I feel as though if it had been a healthy one, then okay.
Yeah.
Yes, but based off of what happened in my life, I do feel like it would have been a complete difference if he hadn't have been there.
Yeah.
If he hadn't have been there. And that's something that, like you say, being okay with that, because like I'm an extremely emotional person. And
We
so-
all too much. I'm telling you, it's a lot.
Why are you sitting here acting like this?
She crying
Like,
for now.
Yeah.
God,
you know,
suck it up,
it's
suck
so,
it up.
for me, a lot of things is emotional for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
Because you had to endure so much.
and outside of just the relationship with him, it was other things that happened to me
Yeah.
as a young child.
Exactly.
And being that, and even when the things were happening, the one thing that prevented me from saying anything about it was, I want my dad to go to jail. I cared more about what would happen to my dad than what was happening to you.
Yeah.
At
Right.
that time.
Right.
You know, and so a lot of things, like I said, I feel as though if it had been different, a lot of things wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
Right.
I really do believe that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That's the thing too. I say sometimes you think about it, would my life been better with or without?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I say, yeah, I think my life was better without him. You know, because I was just having a conversation with my sister, one of my friends. I call each other sister in the car. You know, I did go on a journey looking for my dad right before he passed away. But at the time, Mommy said, well, you know, I got some bad news. Your dad passed away. You want to go to the funeral? I was like, for what? You know, and I didn't have any emotion. I mean, because this is somebody I don't know.
Right.
You know, and I said, no, Mommy. I said, because I don't want to remember him like this.
Right.
You know, for someone who I don't know, and then to go and view this man in the casket, I don't no, I'm good. I'm good on that. And so she saw, and right before he passed, his sister passed. Her name was Diane, and so she cut out her obituary for me at the newspaper, and I went to her address, and it was her husband there. And I explained to him who I was, and he was very welcoming. He was like, wow, you know, whatever. But then he said to me, and this was before the man, the donor passed, and he said, well, you know, we don't keep in contact with your dad because he was on drugs or whatever. And again, that to me said, it's a good thing he wasn't in my life, because then I would have had to deal with all of that, you know. And I'm like, you know, God, I'm thankful, because I didn't want to deal with that, because then of course I dealt with, you know, people. My mom was the only one in my family that did not use, as far as my uncles and aunts and things like that. That's another story, because now I'm deemed as the golden child because my mom didn't use drugs. Okay, that's another story. But anyway,
You have siblings?
I'm an only child.
No, your dad.
I don't know what.
Okay.
I don't know nothing. So I talked to him, and he just gave some information, and he said my aunt passed away from breast cancer. So I got some history,
There you go. And that's important.
and very important. And then so I knew her last name, Polk. Their last name is Polk. So me, Facebook, thank God, Facebook. So I'm Googling, and I did find her son, and so we're Facebook friends, but we've never met up yet, But he comments every now and then, whatever. So that's one thing I got out of it. But for me, I feel like again, him being absent in my life was a blessing for me. So I think sometimes it didn't make or break me. It is what it is.
Mine, honestly, I couldn't imagine my daddy not in my life. Even though with all his things, I couldn't, because I feel like had my dad not got custody of me, I'm trying to be mindful. Had he not got custody of me, how I would have turned out, baby. Just based on what I see from others, let's say that. I really feel like I would have been totally different.
Right.
No guidance, no respect, all of those things. And something that my siblings from my mom always say is, you're different. You're not like us. You're different. And I have one brother that we're supposed to have the same father, but he, complete opposite. Him and my dad, they don't have a relationship. He don't have a relationship. He doesn't even call my dad dad. My dad did get custody of him. He only got custody of me. So I think there's a lot of hurt, but he was in and out of juvenile as a young boy. So I had not got the history. Because you know what? As Black people, we don't like to talk about it. We don't like to talk about things. We don't like to go back and say, well, this is what happened. This is what was going on.
That's why we never.
You don't want to make yourself seem that you were in a bad place, but it's okay. Say what you did wrong. If you was battling drugs, if you were not a good mother or a good father, say that. That's your past. It's okay. We can get through that, but acknowledge that. So I can't imagine my life without my daddy. Like I said, even though, because had he not got custody of me and my grandmother, my great grandmother raised me, I would not be the woman I am today. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, because I'm far from it. But I would not be sitting in this seat with you ladies. I promise you I would not. Ain't telling where I'd be church. But yeah, I couldn't imagine my life without that bald head man.
I think for me, I just think if my dad was more present, again, like we kind of touched on it earlier, I don't think I would have allowed certain things to take place in relationships long as I did, like Tab said. And I think that would basically be the main thing for me. So my great-grandfather passed away when I was 9, and he was like my father figure, like that was like my road dog. And so what it does for me when I do, like when I was really going through that of really realizing what my situation was with my father, it triggered my granddad, because it was like, dang, like what if I really would have had him longer? Because he was the one who spoiled me, loved me, held me, rocked me to sleep in his rocking chair. I tell the boys like he had this big brown rocking chair, and me and him would be sitting back in the room that he was sitting in, like rocking on the rocking chair, talking. And then if I used to do something bad, my grandma would tell him to. My grandma was the disciplinary.
Yeah,
You
shit,
did,
right.
you know.
Okay, whatever. But so if I would do something, she would be like, well, his name was Eldra. She was like, Eldra, whoop her. And he was like, all right, I'm about to whoop her. So he would take the newspaper and roll it up. She would be like, go get a switcher, go get a belt. He'd be like, I'm gonna just use the newspaper. And so he'll be like, close the door. I close the door. And he'll take the newspaper, he'll be hitting the arm of the chair. You're not whooping.
Right.
And this time too, I'm from a small town, so when Dixie was open 24 hours, and my snack was orange sherbet and Starburst. And I would wake up like all times of the morning asking for that, and him and my grandma used to like literally argue about it. So what I do now is I don't try to say I'm going to allow this because my father didn't do this.
Right.
I say this is what I'm gonna expect because my granddaddy showed me
That's
this
right.
from when I was born to when I was born.
Right.
So that's how I've tried to like switch it up. So like I said, my father, I really wish if you was gonna stay out,
Just
stay out.
Right. We popcorn dads. That's what I
because
call them,
then
popcorn.
it got me in a transition where I allowed people to
Right.
come give me that halfway stuff or come in and out.
Right,
So yeah, I would just say like if you're gonna stay out, just
Yeah.
stay out. I think my biggest thing to me is knowing your truth though.
That's
Yeah.
right. And
Knowing
standing
that,
on it.
yeah.
Don't being afraid to. You gotta tiptoe.
Right.
And that's something that I've learned is not to tiptoe around everything.
Mhm.
Now I'm very verbal with
Absolutely.
vocal, whichever one.
Just being transparent.
With
Yeah.
transparent with with my dad now of when things hurt me, and even with my mom, that right
Yeah.
there's a whole nother thing. But anyway, so now I'm being more open. But something that you said, your grandfather was the one that showed you all of those things, and that's something that we want for our kids.
Yeah.
That our parents are those type of grandparents, but unfortunately in these days
Yeah.
we don't have that.
Mm-mm.
But my dad used to love on my girls. He didn't do that so much with me. Like he was there, like I said, and but it wasn't the affectionate that I
Right.
needed as well. But my dad was more of, he'll buy something or whatever. But I always see my dad being a provider for my bonus mom. I seen him making sure the bills was paid, but he still was out there twirling around in circles and stuff. But that's something that, I don't know if you guys hear women say, I want a man like my daddy. I want a man like my daddy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Love you,
Yeah.
but not.
Yeah.
I don't want a man like my daddy.
The atmosphere.
No, yeah, there you go.
Atmosphere.
My dad was a provider. Now that, okay, I'll get that. Give me that right there.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to be a provider for our family, but I do not want a man like my daddy.
But then they got that old school though. That old school to say, I don't care as long as he paying my bills.
No.
That's how the old school.
Yeah,
is.
that's how. But you know what? And those women, and then granted, my grandmother was like that.
No ma'am.
She
I ain't dealing with
stayed
no Rolling
and
Stones.
stayed with my grandfather, and because everything was taken care of. He do what he wanted to do. He come back home. So that's one thing I do remember that I will not pick up.
Right. We're not doing that.
That's
no more.
unacceptable. That is
Yeah.
very much unacceptable. But people are still like that to
Yeah,
this
they
day.
are. They are.
My bills getting paid. He do what he want to do.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
selfish, baby.
I'd be like, what in the STD?
And the
That's what I be
COVID.
saying.
They talking about the COVID.
The Corona hills.
Yeah, child.
Oh, go ahead.
I wanted to piggyback off what you said, how your dad loves on your daughters and everything. My mom says the same thing about her stepdad. They tell us, her and her sister and brother tell us all the time, the Kevin Greer that y'all got is not the Kevin Greer that we had. They said whenever he would say he loved us, it was just a pat on the
There
head.
you go.
My grandfather would verbally, if we talking to him on the phone, he would say, I love you. If we hung up before saying that, he would
He called
call us
right back. Yep.
and said, I said I love you. And so
Yeah.
even down to when I was pregnant, he told my mom, he say, I don't know why you trying to make her get a job. She carrying the baby. She say, well, you made me work. He say, that's different. All she gotta do is make sure that baby is healthy when they get here. She said, well, what she gonna say? pack her stuff up and bring them down.
There you go.
So it was my mom said he literally did a 180
Mhm.
when she had my sister, and so it happens.
It does.
It really does.
It really
happen.
It
does
does.
change 'em.
Yeah,
It
my
really
my
does.
stepmom was like that. Me and my stepmom, you know, I loved her dearly. She passed away 2012. I loved her dearly. We had our ups and our downs, but what I went through with her when I gave birth to my oldest daughter, she told me you just had her for me and your daddy. She showed Jalea love. That was her baby.
Oh.
You couldn't tell her nothing about Jalea. Like, and I tell Jalea to this day, Mimi gave you the love that I wanted from her.
Yeah.
Because I didn't get it from my mom, but I wanted it from her because you were like my second mom.
Right.
And so she gave it to my kids. And my dad, I had to make my dad start saying, I love you. I love you. Like, I have now, you know, there's that one person in the family that kind of holds everybody together.
Yeah.
I'm that person.
Yeah.
So I have had to train my siblings and my family. When before you hang up the phone, I love you.
Yeah.
And we don't say bye. If you say bye, I'm calling you right back. Excuse me.
Exactly.
All right, later.
She do
Right.
me like that.
I don't like the word bye
My
because
brother's
I've
like
lost
that.
too many people.
Yeah.
And I feel like that last word was bye.
Final. Mhm.
I don't like that word.
Yep.
So I'll call you right back. I don't care where you going in the meeting.
I
Later,
said I love
later.
you. Mhm.
Or I love you. Like, you know, and I had to get that comfortable with Dee. Like, I love you. Like, we don't say it as often as we should, but she hear that word come out my mouth.
Yep.
And I feel like I have to let you know that while I got breath in my
Right,
body.
right.
And so I had to train my daddy because the only time I heard that word is when it's an event going on, when it's holiday, or when it's people around, was when I was hearing him and my mom say it. So even with my daughter's grandmother, she didn't tell her kids that, the boys.
Mm.
So Jalea's dad, he didn't know how to do that for her, but then he learned.
Yeah. You gotta
And then
learn.
he had to learn. So with my dad, he had to learn. I love you. I'm mad at that man, but I love you.
Mhm.
But you go here.
Mhm. My dad was also the same way. He didn't hear it growing up,
Yeah.
and none of his siblings did. I think it's like 6 or 7 of them.
Mm-hmm.
None of them ever heard that. So I didn't realize that. Now my dad, he was very adamant. My dad was he was very affectionate growing up. I will say that my dad told me he loved me all the time. Me and my brothers always said it. I didn't realize how it affected his siblings until when I was in college. And I was talking to my uncle. He was one of the only people that I told I was pregnant. And when we were getting off the phone after me telling him that, he said he loved me. And I realized right then that was the first time. This is my favorite uncle. I didn't call him Uncle Keith. He was Uncle. That was it. Strictly that. I realized then at that moment that was the first time he had ever said he loved me. And so just realizing that, not trying to make an excuse for them and the way they are, but they picked up that stuff from their father.
Mhm.
Like you say, hit your granddaddy. My grandfather, he paid bills. That was it. It was no
Yeah.
affection. They didn't even get to pat on the head or anything
No.
like that.
It was a cycle that just kept
Yeah,
going, and they
exactly.
became comfortable with
Exactly.
it. And that's all they know. But then, like
Mhm.
you just said, there's something that I chose to do is what I seen my dad do, I seen everybody else do, that I came up around, that's all you watch them do things. I chose to do different.
Different.
So
Separate
people
that
ask me, there you go. So
generation.
people ask me with my daughters, nobody taught me how to be a mother. Nobody taught me to love my kids. I made telling my kids that I love them a normal thing.
Yeah.
It's okay. And I don't think that a lot of people do that. They don't make it's a normal thing to tell your kids, I love you every day. Don't wait until it's time to show off what your
Yeah,
kids doing and show off this. No, they need to hear it and they need to see it.
Absolutely.
So with all of that, it's just like, I had to learn myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people you have those people who, oh, well, that's just the way I am. Because I saw my mama do it. I
So
saw
that's
my
all.
mama do
That's
it.
all.
But you have to come to the
You
point.
gotta be able to
How
change
did you
that.
change it.
feel?
Yeah.
How did you feel
Yeah,
when
how
it was
did you
going?
feel?
Make it, even though you might not have seen what a mother was or seen what a father was,
Yeah.
you know how you felt when you were in your situation.
Right.
Do something
Change.
different.
Change.
And that's what I had to do. What I seen with how I felt with my father.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy because, like I say, my 16-year-old, her dad's not living. My 12-year-old, her dad is living. So technically, I hope this doesn't come out wrong. They technically don't have fathers in their life. If you really look at it, you know, Jalea, of course, but Marley, she really doesn't. Because what she needs from her dad, she can't get from her dad. And so I chose, like I said, I chose to do the opposite when it comes to raising my kids. And how I just feel like what I'm doing, the opposite of what I seen and what I needed from my dad, it's working. It's working. We don't get it right all the time, but it's working.
Right.
My girls, Mom, you just sit, Mom, they know it's normal now. Getting out the car in the mornings for school.
Yeah.
Me and her be on the phone. She telling the boys, I love you. Have a good day. I'm telling my daughter when I'm dropping her to school, have a good day. I love you. It's normal. It's okay. Like,
My 22-year-old, I'm like, give me a kiss. She like, oh my gosh, Mom.
I be doing it, and I
Yeah.
still do that. I hug on them, I kiss on them, I love on them.
I am gonna cry the first time Brent do me like that. Really? Mom?
Oh my gosh, it's
11-year-old
coming.
is
It's
like,
coming.
oh,
Because
Yeah.
right now,
It's
he
coming.
doesn't care where he is gonna run up. Mommy,
Oh, you
I
just
hug
love
Just
you.
embrace that,
Yes,
enjoy
Yes, I'm
baby.
enjoying all of it. Every single time he wants to
Please
cuddle,
enjoy it.
Yes.
Mommy, I want to cuddle you. Come on.
Yeah, because
because
now
he's-
he's kids. They get up and run like, Mom.
Yeah, my third grade.
Girl, I wind that window, I push that button, I wind that window all the way there. Marley, I love you. Jalea, I love when Jalea going into school. She's, stop. No, I love
Yeah.
you.
Absolutely. So it's different. And so with my girls, you know, like I said, they're the practice marriage.
Yeah.
And then the husband that I have now.
I listen, I love that he makes her feel this
Y'all see the stars. Well, you know, and so we have a son together. He's 11, and so it was, you know, a blended family is really hard. In
Oh,
the beginning.
God.
It is so hard because the thing is, you know, with him being our son's father and then our girls, you know, so it was hard for them because they're like, well, his dad is here and our dad's not. You know, and I'm like, I get it, but he is, you know, I mean, because he is really involved because he was taking them to the doctor for me.
Yeah.
Like he was on it, you know.
And that's how it's supposed
And it's
to
supposed
be
to
when
be,
you're
you know,
blended like that.
Right, but they were giving him, like,
Yeah.
you know,
They
that
didn't understand.
They
it
didn't
at the
understand it
beginning.
at the beginning because, like, this was what 06 when it all started,
Yeah.
you know. No, 08. It was 08. And so it was like this, and you know, when they would go in the beginning with the donor, you know, because when he thought that he still had a chance, you know, he literally thought that he was coming back.
Focus tail, come back,
Oh.
come back.
So, and so, you know, when he thought he was getting ready to come back, you know, he was still trying to do the thing.
Yeah.
And then, but when he found out that I was expecting, and then it was like, oh, my world is crashing, you know. So then that's when
Instead
he
of
started.
fixing relationship
Instead
with his
of girls, he was so focused on, oh no, she got somebody else, so she about to have another son. So then,
Yeah.
okay, I know I'm not, you know, going back or whatever. So then it started being friction. And so he was trying to program our girls into all this other stuff. So it was starting to cause friction, you know. And it was just really, really hard. And so it was an estranged relationship with them. And this guy literally lives 8 minutes from us, and he barely came to see our children, you know. And so where my husband now, sorry y'all.
I love it.
So my husband now, you know, he is an amazing father, and you know, we are, and so fast forward, like, you know, when you're saying just trying to be there for your kids and let them know that you are, you know, there. So their dad, the donor, that's what they call him. Like that's what they. They are. I have 2 girls, and they both. One is, if you want to call fluid, and one is she dates girls. And so with this being Pride Month, I'm very. Of course, being a mom, it's like
You're supporting.
You know, when you first find out, it's like, oh my God, I couldn't breathe. But now it's like, you know, those are my babies. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to support you until the wheels fall off. So if somebody got something to say, okay, let's know
We
you
going
go.
ahead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Baby.
I just had that
You know what I'm
conversation
saying?
because of my sister, and that's how I feel because we lost her mom in 2012. So it's like I was kind of like that, making sure she was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I agree with you.
Yeah, so you know what I'm saying, we can do whole, we can do hair. Which one you want to do?
Point blank
You know what I'm
period.
saying?
Promise.
To my kids.
What's up?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, you know, their donor, he was like, well, you know, I don't like them stuff because he's from the island. So, you know, and so, you know, what made me think about this conversation is I was telling my kids, well, you know, you guys can talk to him and tell him how you feel, you know, because, you know, he deemed it as when they're telling him how he feels as disrespectful. And my thing is, I used to think that too. Right, I'm gonna be transparent. But when I started going to school and you know, for the counseling, when I was going to school for my, you know, doing my therapy thing, and you know, no, kids have their own mind frame too, and they can tell us when they feel a certain way without being disrespectful. But I tell my kids it's all about your delivery too, and it's not
deliverance is everything.
and I said no, you can tell him these things. You know, I said have a conversation because I tell them, let me know when you feel in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? And no, I don't think it's disrespectful, but you gonna come to me and talk to me like you got some sense now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna talk about it and we're gonna be okay. You know, and so I, you know, changed my profile picture of them, and it has like the pride frame. You know, and I didn't realize how much it did for them. You know what I'm saying? They were so excited. Right. And you know, and it just made, they was like, oh, mommy, you know. And one of my friends was like, but they know that you're accepted. I said, yeah. I say, but for me to let other people know that I accept them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm showing people, you know, because there are other families out there that their moms say, oh yeah, my kid is, you know, dating a girl or whatever, but they don't put it out there. You know what I'm saying? No, this is it, and I'm letting you know, and I will check you, and don't say nothing because baby, I'm coming for you, okay? And it ain't gonna be cute. But what I'm saying is to say, like, when kids talk to you and let you know how they're feeling, it's not being disrespectful. And I told them, listen, you can tell your dad, you know, the donor how you feel. You know, I only say that because that's what they say. Because I've never bashed him in front of them.
Right.
Because I knew eventually they're gonna see him for who he is, and that's exactly what they have done. You know, so you know, because I used to tell him every time y'all see him, you know, he don't have to spend money on y'all. It's about the time, because that is priceless.
You can't get that back.
You cannot get that back. But and my husband said, you know, he was like, why does this dude? Your son is like, my husband was like, well, this dude, every time he sees them, why he feel like he always gotta, you know, spend money? It's about time. You know what I'm saying? He literally had a conversation with him. Listen, I have no problem with you coming. He was like, you can come sit in the living room. I don't have a problem. These are your kids, you know. You know, so you can always come in. You live 8 minutes away. Come on, you don't have to sit out, you know, garage or in the driveway. But this dude was like, I'm not coming to sit in this man's house. You know, he's just so ignorant. You know what I'm saying?
Because
Just
of
too
what
pride.
he wished that it probably what you guys had. And
Right.
all
And
that.
he saw me with my cute jeans on. You know what I'm saying? He was bothered.
I can't.
So he was bothered.
I
Okay. So I'm gonna be transparent.
You are.
See,
I got you.
I'll be honest. I was almost 400 pounds, baby. And
Come
see,
on.
forward, he hadn't seen me in a long time.
Oh.
And so when I, you know, got myself together, my get-togethers together.
Okay.
I had them jeans on. I put them on purpose. I told my husband, I said, look, watch this. He ain't gonna be able to concentrate because he get ready to see these good jeans. Baby. That boy almost fell through the door when he saw them britches. Wait a minute.
Baby.
But anyway, back to the issue at hand. Sorry, baby. But yeah, you know, so he wouldn't even come and see them, and I told him, I was like, just tell him, you know, tell him the real, you know, tell him, listen, Dad, or whatever y'all choose to tell him at the time, because see, this dude, he does things in front of them, you know, because how could you expect for your kids to have respect for you when you're doing certain things, you know what I'm saying? You're having conversations with them, because I would call him and say, look, because I don't talk to him at all, like, we don't communicate, because they're 19 and 21. Almost 22. Babe, we wasn't having conversations then. Because when I got to how they old people say the cell phone.
Hello.
When I got them cell phone.
Baby, you have no reason to
Listen here, unless you coming off incorrect. Ain't no need for no communication. Okay?
Block, stay on my block.
Girl, I ain't know his number because he called me the other day. I didn't even know who it was. He tricked me. Because I answered the phone. He did answer the phone. Told him to hold on, girl. He held on too. I didn't go back.
He talked to his dad through his grandmother.
Listen, I know.
See, but sometimes you have to do that for your
Sanity.
sanity. You have to, and sometimes you try to give them the benefit of the doubt because sometimes I tried that with Martin Daddy and it didn't work. So I said, okay, you know what? There you go.
All the benefits I'm telling you is the ones I get from work. But listen, let me tell you. So you know, I told him, you know, because you know, these fathers be out of pocket.
Very much so.
And so I had to tell my kids, just have these conversations with them.
Mhm.
And I'm telling y'all this, and this is funny though. Y'all gonna laugh. I'm just trying to break up the monotony. So my kids, like I told y'all, they're gay or whatever, and so he called them and he was going off on my daughter and saying, well, I don't like that stuff. That's against the religion, and I don't like this, and da 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 da. And God is gonna punish you. I mean, he was saying really bad stuff, and so she hung up on me, and he started texting her some really bad stuff, right? Well, she is her mother's child, but she came back at him or whatever.
In a respectful way.
No.
Okay,
No,
never mind.
that wasn't respectful,
Okay.
But I mean, at the end of the day, it was really bad. Sip your tea. But then I told the baby girl, I was like, what you can say is, and have a rightful conversation. Y'all please correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
I told her, I said, listen, you can tell him, well, with all due respect, what's disrespectful is how you can date a female who also date females. And you can tell me about it as your child. What's also disrespectful is,
That's being a hypocrite.
right, what's also disrespectful is that you're married again, but you invite your girlfriend to eat lunch with us, and we know that you're married.
So you're not setting the right example, but you're criticizing me for my sexuality.
The
Oh,
the cat jumped over.
Yeah, but all that's gonna do is push your daughters farther and
Absolutely.
farther away because
And
he
that's-
doesn't accept. And that's what a lot of these kids, they want to feel like if anybody, they want their parents
Absolutely.
to accept them first.
And that's what I said. I said because that's the reason for the high rate of suicide.
Yes.
That is the rate. That's the reason for the high rate of alcoholism, and then the drugs. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because we're not accepting them. Because I actually started. What's that new Pose? I watched that show Pose. Did y'all ever watch that? With
I've heard of it, but
oh
I've
my
never
God.
watched it.
It is. I watched the beginning of it. I didn't finish it, but
Jalea watches that.
yeah, but
Oh.
it's what is that guy name? He just came out being HIV positive. He's a
Oh, I
gay-
did see that on Instagram. It's
Oh,
a celebrity
what's his
guy that came
name?
out and he found out he has
HIV.
HIV.
And so, the beginning of it talks about how the guy's parents put him out because of his sexuality, and so he's homeless, and you know what I'm saying. And I think about how especially men, as fathers, they shy away from that because they feel like, oh, that's taken away from their manhood. No, it's not. You know what I'm saying? If anything, that shows a supportive father, you know what I'm saying, that is loving their child. And that just really, it just bothered me so bad. Like, they're not gonna cry because, just me having, gay kids, and I thought about my kid's father and how he treated them, which it resembled that for me. Although he didn't physically, fight the kids. He did, with the words, you know what I'm saying?
That's strong enough.
It's strong enough because,
Yeah.
you can't, the words,
You can do a lot of
you
damage.
can damage, you can heal from that because
Mm-hmm.
the guy, he fought the little boy, his son, but you know what I'm saying, those words, you can't heal from that. You can heal from a physical fight, but you can't heal from those words and emotional abuse.
Because what you don't want them to get older, the kids get older and then they're fighting all these things and they can't be themselves, because I know a couple people
Yeah.
that I feel like are still fighting those
Yes.
things. They can't be who they
yeah.
are because they're scared what the
World
world
is
is going to
gonna
say
think.
or what their family is going to say. And I
Absolutely.
shared that with you, I think.
Yeah.
But I feel like someone close to me is going through that.
Yeah.
And so many words, I'm trying to let them know, be who you
Be
are.
I'm still gonna love
I'm
you.
still going to love you.
I think this conversation is kind of
Touchy.
going another way a
Mhm.
little bit, but I think for me, and I know some people close to me who don't agree with how I feel about it, but how I feel about it is, when I was raised, my mama taught me one thing, my grandma taught me one thing. I went to church, I did
Yeah.
all this stuff, blah blah blah. But then when I got old enough to do what I wanted to do and be who I wanted to be, I went against a lot of stuff that the Bible said.
Yeah.
So I think in some days, I still have to go back and say, Lord, forgive me because I did whatever incorrect or
Yes.
whatever.
Mhm.
So I think what we've gotten out of, matter of fact, I just posted something on Facebook about people having different beliefs and some, but
Yeah.
let's still learn to love.
Yeah,
love
that's
and
what-
respect
yeah,
each other.
You did.
I think those are the two things things. We've lost love and we've lost respect.
Yes.
Like if you're not doing everything I think you need to
Yep.
be doing, I hate you.
Mhm.
If you don't
Right.
believe exactly how I believe, I
I
hate
hate
you.
you.
I gotta stay away from you.
Mhm.
But if all of us were here and we were exactly the same,
We would get annoyed.
we would be bored.
Yes.
And like I tell people all the time, this is a conversation I've had with Tina, and this, you know, now we finna have it, is I believe what I believe, you may believe what you believe, but can we still love and respect
Yeah.
each other? Like, that's just all it boils down
Agree.
That's
to.
disagree.
Yeah, and that's why I say
Love.
it's so touchy because with all of this right here, and I know we kind of got off topic a little bit.
We did,
But
but
that's
I was
just
saying
making
about the
sense.
dad, because there's
Yeah,
videos
yeah.
and things, but it's just like so much.
It
Yeah.
is.
It's still
It's
the love
still
and
the love.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still because you want them to feel comfortable. And like you said, I just think about these kids hurting themselves because it's so many. And you don't want that. So
Right.
I applaud you for,
Yes.
standing up for your babies
Mhm.
and
Yeah, but
going.
he has turned his back on them. Like he has, like he's so like he's the epitome of a popcorn dad. You know what I'm saying? Like he has been so horrible to
Eventually,
them.
they're not gonna want any ties with him at all, and that's not your fault. That's
It's
something
not.
that he has the opportunity to change. That he has that decision to make, but he's not doing that. So it is what it is. If he lose them, he lose them. It doesn't matter if it's a phase or not for your girl.
Right.
It doesn't
Right.
matter. You're
Right.
still saying, "I stand with you,"
Absolutely.
and they know right from wrong.
Yeah.
They know.
And that's what I tell them.
But it's still you as their mother. Like, I got you. What's
Mhm.
up? What we doing?
Yeah, like, yeah. No, go ahead.
And like you say, they will get to a point where they cut them off because that's exactly how it is for my sister and my brother.
Mhm.
I'm literally the only one who's in communication with my dad at this
Mhm.
point. The things that
Cheers.
he's done, in relation to my sister and my brother and stuff, it was to a point now where they're done. And like even down to like you say, when he does stuff in front of them and stuff like that's what it is for my brother. My brother's like, you're my dad. I shouldn't have these conversations. It's a difference in being open with your parents and your daddy saying and doing all this stuff in front of you. He was like, how? I don't want to see that.
Right. Right.
You know, as a man, I don't want to see my dad out here doing all of this stuff. I don't want to have these conversations with him. He said because that's something that he's battling.
Right.
And it's to a point where my brother's like, I don't want to be like him.
Right.
And so he is on the up and down right now too because he's fighting it.
Yeah.
He
he's
is
battling.
fighting it
Mm.
so bad, and I can see it, and I'm glad that my mom has been that staple for us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, as far as the communication and everything like that. So my brother feels open to talk to us about the different things that he goes through and stuff like
That's
that. So that made a major difference. But like you say, they get to a point where it's like, it's done. Like, why should I keep fighting it? Why am I the adult?
Mhm.
I'm actually a child,
Absolutely.
But
I'm having to be the adult
Yeah.
to
be the
make this
adult.
relationship work. That's not fair to me.
I agree.
That's not. I didn't ask you to bring me here.
Absolutely.
So why am I the one that's asking to mend something that
Yeah.
I didn't break?
Exactly. I agree with you because I feel so long. I feel like there's a lot of times that I feel like as a parent, you're supposed to be doing it. It's not me.
Yes.
I'm trying to fix this.
Absolutely.
Why am I trying to fix it?
Exactly.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
I'm begging you for time. And yeah, so,
Yeah.
whew.
Yeah, I think too, one of the things I wanted to touch on, and we can kind of skim through the other stuff, because we've hit on like
A lot of different
Yeah.
questions.
we've
Yeah.
hit on the children with their fathers. Well, I didn't, not too much. Do I tell my children the truth about my relationship? We kind of went
We
on
touched
that.
on that, yeah.
So yeah, we pretty much hit on everything except, yeah, we did. Yeah, we talked too much, but anyway. I was gonna say too about the father being present. I had to go back. I do feel like it would make a difference when it comes to my siblings, because I'm the oldest of my dad's kids.
Mhm.
My dad has 9.
You the oldest?
That's why they be getting on my nerves.
Cause you the other mom.
Yeah.
Mama D.
We be on the phone, she be like, there go my brother, let me call you.
I just been ready to like get in my $1 million jet and fly down there, but I don't got the jet yet. I'm
coming.
But yeah,
It's coming.
but
Purple jet.
Straight purple.
Delicious. Okay, so let's go back.
Mhm.
My mom and my dad was married. My dad was in the military. So I don't remember us living in Ohio, but I do remember California. If that makes any
Okay,
sense.
it's
I
a travel
don't.
baby.
I was.
Okay.
So my mom, my dad married. Cause let me break this down so y'all will understand.
Okay.
My mom has two with my dad.
Mhm.
We have a brother in between us.
Okay.
So I'm 33. He's 32.
Mhm.
And then my other brother with my mom is 31. And then my dad has kids with his wife, but then there's a daughter in between the siblings with the wife. Got me?
Papa was
Okay.
raised.
Girl, I was
So-
singing in my head.
My sister, who's in the area with them, she's had to sit back in the same town. So me and her have had little conversations, but she hasn't really got to the point where she's ready to really let out how she feels. She has grew up in the same town with my dad and my current siblings and have had to watch them experience him while her aunt and uncle raised her. So my brother, so I met her when she was 9. I was already grown. And I was standing at my granddaddy's house. We was all outside. I was over there visiting. And all I heard was, her nickname is Peanut. So all I heard was, Peanut, do you know who that is? This is how I met her. Peanut, do you know who that is? And all I see is a little girl look at me and she like, it's my daddy talking to her. And the little girl was like, no. And she was like, that's your oldest sister. Wait, what? This is how I met her.
Wow.
She was walking down the road, little girl playing, sweaty, dirty, in Florida weather with her other little cousin. That's how I met her. That's how I became aware of her. My brother in Ohio, I didn't find out about him until I was a teenager. We came in contact with each other about 6-7 years ago, maybe. Been active on Facebook, talk on the phone, that type of stuff. We just laid eyes on each other this year. What was that, last month? Was it June already?
Yeah, last
May,
month.
yeah. We just laid eyes on each other last month.
Wow.
33 and 32. Me and him act just alike.
Oh,
God
wow.
bless.
So just imagine how much closer we would be. Like my dad is like the comedian of the family. All his kids except all of his kids except 2 of his sons with his current wife, they kind of more like laid back, chill type. But the rest of us, like we some nutcases. Like that's just what it is. And so I just sit there and I think about how close all of us would be if he was active in our life and kept us there, because the only ones that he was active with is the ones with his current wife. The rest of us were like, who are you? We might call you this month. You might be able to come for like a week or so during the summertime, whatever. So after I had Zamar, I ended up moving back. Okay, so rewind. When I found out I was pregnant, my mom had took over the DCF. So DCF in Florida is DSS here. But we had a really big call center in Tampa, Florida. They asked her, did she want to take over the call center? So she was a manager at that call center. So she was in Tampa. So when I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to go ahead and move with my mom, because when she was moving to Tampa, I was like, Mom, I'm not leaving my school. Like, so I moved with my grandmother by choice, because she was like, everybody, we was like, Mom, we not leaving our school. Like, girl, go do your thing. Send me some coins, but go do your thing. And yeah, we're gonna stay here. So when I found out I was pregnant, I just had this urge to want to be under my mama. So after I had Zamar, boom, 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 moved back home. But I ended up moving with my dad, because my mom didn't want me to go live with my grandma, because she was older and she didn't, you know what I'm saying? So I decided, I want to go to my grandma anyway. I'd rather go to my grandma's house. My mom was like, no, just go to, your dad, because, you got him, your stepmama, they younger, if something go, So I went one weekend to stay the weekend with my grandmother. My only reason for even moving back from Tampa was Father's Day. Even though he come to Tampa. He was active. You know what I'm saying? It was like I just want to be like there because you know. So there was a situation that happened, and it was my great grandmother, right? So my great grandmother took me home, and her van, her lights were dim. I'm going somewhere with this, y'all.
Okay.
Y'all
We
know
with
dramatic.
you,
I'm
we
a
with
writer,
you.
so I gotta give y'all all the details.
Yeah.
So
Got
we
you.
build up the story.
I'm
to
so
go
used
boom.
to it.
Okay, so I realized when we got to my dad's house that I forgot my house key. So I called down to my stepmom's grandmother's house, and I was like, my brother answered, and I said, you know, DeAndre, ask your mom, can she come? It was like a 10-minute drive. Ask your mom, can she come let me in the house because I forgot my key, and I was like, my grandma want to get back because her lights are dim, and at that time her cataracts was bad. She was old, bless her heart. So I heard her in the background say, I don't care who lights blah blah blah. I was mouthy, y'all, and I was wrong. My mama got on to me after the fact. But I said, what she said? And he said, cause he was trying to stay out. So he said, she said she not coming. And I said, well, tell her my grandma need to get back because of the lights. She told me that wasn't her business. She told him to tell me that wasn't her business. And I said, you know what? I said, I've been sparing your mama. I said, but I'm finna call my mama so my mama can go ahead and come bust her in her mouth, right? So my grandma, y'all, when I tell y'all when Medea came out, it was like, this is Bernie's wife. Jesus, this is Bernie's wife. So you didn't want to come to let me in the house with my child and for my grandma to get back safe. But when I said that, you flew out to the house. Not only did you fly out to the house, you got 2 of your people with you. I'm a 17-year-old child. So they come flying out. She walks by me. My grandma sitting in the front seat, y'all. My grandma had her pistol in her hand. And she waved a pistol and she said, y'all better not touch it because I got So she literally unlocked her door and she said, DeAndre, come get your stuff out of my house. She didn't call my daddy. She didn't do none of that. So I said, I'm not going nowhere. I said, this is my daddy's house. I said, this is you and my daddy's house. I said, my daddy tell me I need to leave, I'll leave. So my grandma said, DeAndre, just go get your stuff. Cause she said, I'm too old to go to jail today. She said, just go get your stuff, right? Long story short, I got my stuff, went back to Wauchula. Leave, I'm calling my daddy. So apparently she had done, I'm calling my daddy. It turned into days of me calling my daddy.
What?
It turned into days of me calling my daddy. My daddy never called me. He never said what happened. He never said what went wrong. He never said you can come back. He never said nothing. Next call I get is my aunt, which is my dad's sister. She only a year older than me. My granddad was doing too much too. But it's with his current wife though. And she was like, your daddy came talking about you to them at the house, blah, blah, blah. And for me, it was like, what is wrong with you? Where is the disconnect? Even if that's your wife, with me understanding marriage now, your wife does come first. Still, as your child, you really wasn't present in my life. And then I came and stayed a short amount of time with you, and then you showed me once again that at the drop of a dime, you will turn your back on me. And so for me and my brother, I'm saying all this to say, me and my brother, not having a close relationship, not having the close relationships with even my siblings with him, they'll call me for mess and call me when stuff going wrong when they need me to help them do something. But I do feel like if he was present, all of that stuff wouldn't exist. I feel like if he was present and he was really active and had a relationship and a connection with me, he would have been able to say, DeAndre, come back to Lake Placid, or I'm coming to get you, and then me, you, and Keisha are gonna sit down and we're gonna have a conversation and we're gonna talk about this. Yes, you was wrong for saying blah blah blah, and yes, she was wrong for doing blah blah blah, but he automatically sided and he stayed there. And another thing that I had wanted to say too was, I remember when my mom and my stepdad got a divorce. And at this time, because of all their financial stuff they had tied together, she started kind of struggling financially. And I remember she called my dad one week and she said, I need you. She said, if you can, she said, can you send me $50 to help me put some food in the house? She said, I'm gonna just go buy, miscellaneous stuff. She like noodles, bread, cause growing teenagers at that time, like we'll put some noodles in the microwave and call it a day. He told her he was gonna send the money to her that week, or the next day or something like that. Do you know the next time you heard from my daddy? Tell me how many of y'all think this is?
Years.
3 months later.
Oh, my bad. I didn't wait.
3 months.
Mm.
So it kind of goes back to, if he was present, would things have been different? Because like I said, the times that he didn't show up, it leaked out into my marriage. Cause my husband could do like the slightest thing wrong, or a wrong move at this time, and I'm
It
like,
was a trigger.
you just like him. Like it don't even. It could be like the simplest thing. It'd kind of be like you just like him. So would him being present have changed a lot of stuff? I do feel like it would have, but I feel like if you were gonna be absent,
Just be absent.
Just
kinda
stay gone.
over there.
Just gone.
I was dealing with a guy a few months ago, and just so happened that it was weird. Growing up, he grew up in the church up under my uncle. My uncle taught him how to play music, taught him how to sing, all of that. And so when I would be talking to him, before he even told me this, I was like, I know this man from somewhere. Like, just in conversation. And the more we talked, I was like, this man is my daddy. And it was like, even down to him having issues with his father that he hadn't dealt with, having issues with his siblings that he hadn't dealt with. And I was like, this is scary. And like you say, oh, I want a man like my daddy. I used to say that until I actually started talking to one that was like my daddy. I was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
It was triggering too
it
much.
Was, and it was to a point where I found myself just randomly just angry whenever I was talking to him. It's like, as soon as it got to a point, because like, it's like that with my dad would call me now, whole demeanor just changed. It started getting
You're
like
still
that.
healing.
Exactly.
You're still
And that was the reason why I cut him off. And I was like, it's because I cannot heal and I'm still dealing with you, because I was like, that's why I couldn't let my dad come and stay with me, because I'm still healing.
Right.
So for me to be in a romantic relationship
With
with
someone
somebody
just
like
like
that,
baby.
Jesus Christ, no, I couldn't
That's
do it.
double.
And so I cut him off completely. We had fallen out about something, and I didn't fully explain to him until recently why I had to. We started not talking in that sense again, but we did start talking. He told me, he said, I'm going to therapy now.
That's
I
good for
said,
him.
that's good. I said, that is good. He was like, I'm not as bad as a person as you think I am. I say, it wasn't that I felt like you were a bad person. I say, you reminded me too much of my dad. I say, and I've told you little bits and pieces of that relationship. And when we were talking, he was like, I can understand that. He say, I came back to you because I wanted to try again. He said, but from you saying that, and I know just a touch of what you've been dealing with, he said, I can respect that. And I told him, I say, I have never respected you more for that. I said, because that is something I'm still battling with. I said, and I appreciate you respecting that in me, that I'm still healing. And so I can't go on your healing journey with you, because it would do too much to me. You know, and so like I say, I've had that experience, and it was just very eye-opening for me. And this was like 2 months ago. And so it was, like I say, very eye-opening, and to the point where I realized even more that I was looking for different things in men that reminded me of my dad, and it wasn't healthy. You know, I didn't have the healthy things to try and pull from. I just knew that longing feeling of wanting to heal somebody, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for the men who had issues that I
Yeah.
felt like, okay, well, I wasn't able to fix my dad, but maybe I can love him enough to fix him. You know, and so I had to, that his was the
It
most,
is.
it's the worst that it had gotten, so that's what made me sit down like, Beatrice, you can't save everybody.
No.
Like Jada said, you can't save a brother that don't want to be saved.
That don't want to be saved, and
You know?
to what you just said, that's one thing I used to ask myself. I'm like, why I get all these broken men? Like, why? And then I'm like, I'm broken, so that's why
You're
I'm getting
trying to
broken
learn.
men.
Yeah.
And that's why I really had to start healing.
Exactly.
Cause I'm like, baby, you got mama and daddy issue. I got mama and daddy issues.
We
You
can't-
broken. It's just
we can't do
Ooh,
this.
Basically, all
so-
we gonna do is beat each other.
we just
up.
know that's
Exactly.
it. So that healing is important. So I'm proud of you for doing that for yourself.
I commend you. for
It's
that.
important.
Thank you.
Yeah, and not feeling like you have to help your dad. Like you can love your dad, you can support your dad with getting help,
Yeah.
Yes.
but you don't have to bring him into your new space.
right.
Cause you just got to this space.
Exactly.
So don't bring him
Exactly.
into this space
Exactly.
that you are still healing from things that he did as a
Right.
child to you.
Exactly.
So don't do that.
Yep.
Don't
And
do
that was my biggest thing is like I want him to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll go on this, oh, I'm getting help, and then the next thing you know, oh, I don't need it. And I'm like, that back and forth for me it bothers me because, like I say, I have a son, and my son loves my daddy so much. And even though I'm at a point now where, like I say, I'm trying to heal, I'm trying to make sure that he can still have a relationship with my son. But it's hard to kind of try and disconnect because, like I say, with me being an emotional person, everything ties into how I feel.
Yeah.
And so, just like I say, him calling sometimes, it's to a point now where when he calls now, if I'm not with Brent,
You know your answer. And it's
Right.
okay.
And that's
I don't-
fine.
Yeah,
That's okay.
you're doing it
That's
for you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
That's
for
a
you.
boundary that you set.
Yeah, setting
You
those
have to be-
boundaries
Yeah,
is
and that's
important.
important.
When you setting those boundaries, that is important.
And so that's why like I said, I'm trying to get to the point where I can finish this letter so that I can send it to him so that he knows how I feel because he also has a lot of health issues too.
Right.
And so I don't want to. What I'm scared of is him passing, and
You not
our
getting off
relationship
your
are
chest.
still exactly,
Yeah.
and our relationship is still at this point. I
Right.
don't want it to end here. I really don't.
Yes.
And these are his initials. So like you say, you got Daddy's girl.
It's Daddy's
his
girl
his
right
initials
there.
are right here. And so, like I said, at the end of it, I don't want to end on a bad note.
You
And
don't
that
want
is
to
how-
have that shoulda, coulda, woulda,
Right.
but you didn't.
Exactly. So that's why I say I have made it a point to, especially when you sent that text and asking us about doing this panel, I was like, man, just finish that letter. Finish that letter.
So that was
This is-
confirmation
it
for you.
was.
This is
Wow.
confirmation for you to
Yes.
go ahead and
Yes.
that's a part of your
Complete it,
healing.
yeah.
And so go ahead and complete that step
Yeah. Set
and move
your
on
goals.
to the next thing.
Like,
Yeah.
do some goals. That's
Yeah.
another way of dealing, like a technique, to some tools.
Mhm.
Set goals. That'll be one of your goals to complete that letter.
Yeah, and having people that hold you accountable
Yeah.
because
Accountability.
sometimes, like, because I have to keep going back to her because I talk to her 7 days a week. But anyway, she holds me accountable and I hold her accountable. So it's like, okay, so what's up? What you working on? We call each other every morning. And she said, okay, what you got going for today? Or I call her, what you got going for today? Okay, what you working on? Okay, don't you supposed to be doing this? Okay, why this not done yet? Why have you got this done? You gotta have somebody hold you accountable.
She
So,
next, because she was supposed to have a meet and greet pre-COVID, so she next. So.
oh, really?
Look at her face.
Nuh-uh, wake up, ding dong.
I
So
just
we
told her-
so we expecting the date and time. Thank you, ma'am. But yeah, so you gotta have that. You gotta have people hold you accountable for those things that healing. Yeah. No, but it's okay because we being real, right? Okay. So there you go. This ain't scripted.
Worry about me.
Yeah. So yeah, but give people the whole, you know, you have a best friend,
Yes.
and I'm pretty sure she knows all of
She
this.
does.
So even if she's not, I don't know what type of best friend she is, if she can hold you accountable for that.
Mhm.
But if you need us to hold you
Yes.
accountable, then we hold you accountable, okay? So you can't put a time on your healing, and I know that, but you know you gotta get it done. And sometimes we tend to procrastinate on things that we know we gotta get done because we're scared of what will happen.
Right.
And so
Yes.
sometimes that
Mhm.
pushes us back.
It does.
It does.
It
But
really does.
You're gonna feel so relieved when you do it.
I know.
So just
I know.
do it for you.
I know, and I think, like I said, in regards to my son, watching my brother and his brothers, his best friends, who he called brothers, as well as my son's godfather,
Mhm.
just the way that they have been doing things different
Yeah.
with him.
Mhm.
It makes me realize that, okay, Beatrice, they got that part, because even though he sees his other side of the family and stuff like that, he doesn't really have a relationship with
Yeah.
his dad.
Mhm.
And even though his dad lives in the house with his mom, he doesn't really have that.
Yeah.
But my brother and his godfathers and all of his uncles have taken that place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, they have him in that sense of as much as they can. I know that part of his raising also has to do with me healing my
Yes.
son.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to get to a point where, like I say, with my mom, she took on a lot, and my mom shut down a lot too.
So you see where you got it from.
Exactly.
So now you gotta break that cycle. Because
Exactly.
you don't want your son doing that.
Exactly. And like I say, because he is so just connecting, and he has that empathetic part worse than what I do. And he's only 6. And so it's like you can literally see when he changes, because people that he come in contact with, he's like, "Are you okay?" Just random people,
that
and
sounds
he can
like
look at
Kidaria.
them. He can look at them and tell. And so I don't want him to. One, I don't want him to be abused in that
Right.
situation.
Yes, because people will take advantage of that.
Exactly.
And then take on all that.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I also don't want him to become just so distant and cold
Yeah.
towards people because, oh, you're taking advantage of me. So that's one thing that I have to try and learn my balance
Yeah.
with too. And like I say, I know that all of this has started from my relationship with my dad.
Yeah.
And so I'm working on it, and I think that for me, my biggest thing is finally acknowledging
That part.
That's the best part.
That
yeah.
part.
finally acknowledging it. And like I would tell my sister all the time, because she's one of those people, she always will be, how does this make you feel? Brandon, I don't want to talk about how it makes me feel right now. Can I just deal with it? But no, she wants you.
gotta open your
That's
mouth.
She
okay.
does.
Yeah.
She wants to talk about it. And so with dealing with that and learning that with her, it's like, okay, I'm recognizing it. And so now her next question is, so what you doing to change it?
Yep.
You know, and so that's where I'm at
Mhm.
now, is
That's where I
making
follow
sure
up.
that I change
Mhm.
everything. And so this, like I say, getting that my own place, I'm able to
Check it off the
check.
list.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And so
Just
it's-
don't stop.
Right.
Don't stop.
Right.
And I tell
Right.
my friends all the time, it's okay to have your moments. It's
Mhm.
okay, but just don't stay there.
Right.
So just keep moving, keep healing, keep growing. You got
Do you do
this.
affirmations?
I don't.
Ooh, baby, that's the best thing ever.
Did you ever watch Being Mary Jane? How she would write them,
Yes.
put them on?
Mhm.
Go get
Yeah.
Post-it notes
Get you
in
some
my
Post-it
bathroom,
notes, yeah.
in the car, wherever
I have stuff
you walk
everywhere.
through. You
Yeah.
need to do it.
I remember coming to your house with yours.
Oh, you did?
Yes. When coming in, you had some on the wall and
I
stuff
got
like that.
some
Yep.
everywhere.
You have to. You
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah.
And that's
Find
that with my
yourself.
girls. They have body mirrors, like a mirror right here.
Mhm.
They have them on their doors, so words are written on the mirrors.
Mhm.
Even in the bathroom,
Yeah.
it's words, it's Post-it notes. You have to speak over yourself.
Yeah.
So when people, even I had a little girl, Bria's little cousin came in and she looked and she said, "What'd that say?" And so I had to read what was on my mirror. So you're standing in the mirror and you're affirming over yourself.
Yeah.
So just do that. Get you some Post-it notes. Girl had them Post-it notes everywhere, baby. All
Yes.
colors.
I
Yeah.
am.
You got this.
Thank you guys.
Finding your rhythm too, and so now we're on the part of how you helpful tips to help you deal and balance things, because we just been out. Well, finding the way that you communicate with you. So one of the things that I struggled with for a very long time was really stepping into my personality because of how it would be perceived from people, quote unquote, that's not the right way or the godly way or what have you. So Issa Rae is the person who really helped me to just really say, this is me. So I found out about her show. One of my friends introduced me. So have you ever saw the show Insecure? Blah blah blah. And I was like, no. Started watching it. It was kind of a little bit too grown for me. And then I went back and I tried to watch it again because it was just something about the beginning of it. And I saw how she would talk to herself in the mirror. How she would literally go. That's how I literally have been talking to myself for years. But I used to always be like, I'm not gonna let anybody know I do this because I'm gonna.
I let you know I do it, and I answer myself.
I do too.
I do. I answer myself like, girl, you did that. Yeah, girl, I did that. Okay.
And so sometimes, like, even if I'm in a car and I'm having a thought where I'm overthinking or I'm being triggered, I'll like tell myself, like I'll try to stop myself from feeling it, and I'll be like, nah, sis, allow yourself to feel this. Allow yourself to feel how you feel right now. If you need to cry, cry. If you need to punch a stunner, if you need to pull over, you need to get out, you need to walk around whoever parking lot. Allow yourself to feel whatever it is you need to feel, because when you keep stopping it, it's gonna keep coming back.
It's gonna be worse.
Another thing is, I heard you say is, in these different relationships, I'm trying to stop trying.
Just do it.
What
Just
I
allow it
learned
to happen.
is when I was trying, it never happened because that fear of who might leave when I set this boundary was, it was like, no, I can't.
They're
But
not meant
now,
to stay.
if I'm at a point where I can't do something or it's too much for me or it's gonna be overwhelming or whatever, I'm sorry, I can't. Rewind. Don't be sorry for what you can't do. I can't do it. I won't be able to be there. Maybe the next time you have something, hopefully I can be
You don't
there.
have to explain
Or,
yourself.
yeah, that was one
Right.
thing
You
I
don't have to
learned.
explain
Don't
yourself.
apologize for something you can't do.
Right.
You don't have to be sorry, but us who have been through some stuff and who want to please everybody, we find ourselves apologizing for stuff that we shouldn't even be sorry for. So just do it.
I catch
If you-
myself still doing it a lot, and I have to catch myself.
I think
I'm
we
like,
can
why did I